Everybody, this is Arc Alpha 12, and today we have a new Jonathan Young song. This is his Warhammer 40K song, Heretic. Based on the thumbnail, which I currently don't have up right now because for whatever reason, Google Chrome is mucking up and I don't have any of my extensions that I normally have. Um, I based on the thumbnail, this looks like it could be Chaos Marines, especially considering the name of the song Heretic, but I'm not 100% sure. If it is, I'm looking forward to it because I like listening to the non-Imperium of Man faction songs that Jonathan does because he tends to go, in my opinion, even more overboard than normal when creating them. They just seem to have a different vibe to them. And if this is about the Chaos Marines, I'm very much looking forward to it. Link will be in the description below if you want to watch without my commentary, because I will be pausing. I will be talking about it. Without further ado, let's get started. There we go. Okay, so this is not Chaos Marines. These are like Rogue Marines, Rogue Space Marines. I was thinking that this was going to be like the heretics that decided to follow the old gods, but apparently this is more themed around the idea that like some of the Space Marines just have decided to break away from the Empire of Man and want to just, you know, fight their own battles the way that they want to rather than serving a decrepit old corpse on a throne that's basically the only thing that's stopping everything from imploding on itself. um I find that interesting. I find that very interesting because that feels to me like there's a story that could be told. I, I'm sure that there are probably books out there. There might be even be comics. I would love to see um a video game about one of these rogue marines, like someone who is attempting to just survive while on the run from the Imperium of Man. Uh I feel like that could be a really fun story to tell. I don't know whether or not like they'd ever do that because it kind of throws a lot of things in the face of the narrative that like the Empire of Man is like the one true savior of the Warhammer 40K universe, but it would be a kind of like a departure from traditional storytelling in the Warhammer 40K universe that I have seen so far, to be able to focus on one of these to focus on a rogue marine that's basically trying to stop everything, um forced to fight his own brethren because the other space marines would be hunting him down. Maybe at the end of the game, potentially saving a bunch of people and getting at least a reprieve, a head start as thanks for like jumping in and saving like I don't know, like Titus or somebody like that, where like they know that their duty is to bring him in, but their honor is like as a thank you for saving us, we will let you get like a, you know, a 10-minute head start or something like that. I don't know. But like that it's a very interesting concept. And I guess I never really thought about it like that. Originally, I thought that the rogue traders were like that, where like they were apart from the Imperium of Man, but I have been such since educated. When I was thinking rogue traders, I was thinking that they were individuals that like operated on their own whims, basically just like smugglers from Star Wars and stuff like that. They didn't answer to any allegiance, but like I said, I've since been educated. So I wouldn't mind seeing like a Space Marine do something like that, where like they're separate from the Imperium of Man, and because of that, they've been labeled a traitor, they've been labeled a heretic, but they're not. They just don't want to be indoctrinated anymore. I don't know. That's just my stream of consciousness going. Hold on. I was going to pause immediately after the end of the second chorus, but then he decided to carry on a little bit. Um, Speaking from the music standpoint, the one thing that I think I like like a lot about this song, um, it reminds me of both the Imperium of Man songs, where like it's almost like an anthem, while also simultaneously reminding me of the faction songs for the various enemy factions, because it sounds like an anthem, but at the same time, it also sounds like there's I guess one of the things that I liked about the faction songs is that they had a small narrative, but for the most part, they seemed to capture the overarching theme of the faction in a very, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the words to process. I'm still waking up to. Um, they managed to capture the themes and the vibes of the faction that the song is about in a way that the Empire of Man didn't. Because the Empire of Man songs, all the ones about the Space Marines and all that stuff, they sound like propaganda, right? They are designed, they are written, they are composed to be like propaganda songs, which I think is intentional, because if they're supposed to be the heroes of Warhammer, then of course their songs are going to sound more heroic. Where the other ones, they're more fitting the vibe of the faction. This feels like both. It feels like it could be a heroic song, but it also fits the vibe of someone who is completely separate and differentiated from the Empire of Man, someone who has been exiled, someone who has decided to run away and try to live their own life, someone who is strong enough to hold their own against the tide of the Empire of Man's wrath, but at the same time also is not trying to fight for a political belief they no longer believe in. Um or religious belief or whatever, because all that stuff is kind of tied up into a Warhammer. But at the end of the day, both elements, the antagonistic like vibe of the faction feel from from like the other faction songs, and the patriotic, um sympathetic, like anthem feel of the Empire of Man songs, both of them seem to be present here. I definitely feel like the patriotic anthem feel is lesser, but it's there. And I think that's because of the fact that these are not mutated humans. These are not humans that are serving gods. These are not humans that are serving any political belief. These sound like Space Marines that literally are just apart from the Empire of Man and not interacting with the Chaos Marines. They just happen to be their own thing. And so like the mixture of the vibes there makes sense. But I find it to be a an interesting feel because I didn't expect that from Warhammer because everything is so black and white in most of the things that I have researched and most of the things that I've read, played, and seen. Everything is so black and white that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of wiggle room for gray. And based on what people have instructed me, that seems to be the case. There's not a lot of wiggle room for gray in those factions and in the story at large, but maybe there is. Maybe it's a little bit more nuanced than I have been exposed to. And if so, I welcome that because it adds additional storytelling opportunities. That may have been one of the sickest guitar solos in a Jonathan Young song that I have heard in a long, long time. That was incredible. I loved every second of that. I do when it comes to the visuals, I do wish that we had a game about a heretical space marine that was separate because obviously the visuals were using the space marines that existed, which most of the ones that we see in any media are going to be loyal to the Imperium of Man. So I kind of wish that there was a story out there, either through animation or through video games or whatever that could have been used for some of the background footage, so that that way it fit the theme of the song. I imagine an argument can be made that like because it's showing how brutal and inhumane the space marines' lives have to be in order to protect the Empire of Man, that one could argue that because of that, this is their justification. Like this, but I would have liked to see like a heretical space marine, not a chaos marine, not a regular space marine, a heretical one, just like showing off what they can do, maybe fighting one-on-one against a loyal space marine. I don't know. That would have been kind of nice, but such media does not exist yet. Here's to hoping that maybe my idea of like a video game or something like that might come to pass at some point. But anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you for joining me. I am Ark Alpha 12, and I will see you in the next video.